Let us talk about half steps. And so with half steps, what I had to understand in order for the half step concept to stop being a buzz phrase and be something I could actually use in my production was to understand how those half steps relate to the actual building of that one minor chord in the natural minor scale. So if we're in the scale of C major really quickly, and I just record in like a chord really quickly in FL keys. Cool. So I've played that in a couple of octaves, and we'll just come in here and we'll take a look at the actual building of the chord. And as you can see, you know, it's usually built pretty much the same way. If you play it, if you click it in, you're going to lay one note down on that root note. We said it was going to be C minor. I don't know if I said C sharp, but I meant C minor. You're going to skip 2 spaces. So you're going to, on this 1 space, that's 1, then you 1, 2, 3, you place a note on that 3rd space, and that's going to be D sharp minor. And then you start from there, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you place a note on that 4th space. And in this case, that was G, just a regular G note. And that's going to be the routine that you take to build these minor chords each and every time. And so, I mean, I guess something tangential to mention is like if we move up a couple steps, like we moved up 3 semitones, now we're at D sharp, but as you can see, it's still built the same actual musical chemistry happening, but different tonality because the key has changed. And there's a bunch of stuff we could talk about there, but I don't want to get too nerdy in this video. Again, so where the half steps come in is you have to understand it's not as simple. I used to think it was as simple as doing stuff like this, right? I'm sure you've encountered that it's not as simple as just doing what I'm about to show you, right? You can't just do something like this and like expect to have a good melody just because you're using half steps, right? It's actually just not that simple. It's decent, but it's not what we're hearing in our head when we actually are, you know, trying to design these melodies. And even, you know, the very common one, I've made a lot of videos about this one. Even this is not going to lead you to like the kind of melodies that you really want to make when you're thinking about this concept, right? Closer, very close. And so that brings us to the first thing that I want to talk about is that there are various permutations, let's just go with that. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but there's basically various permutations of this type of one minor chord that if you can understand them relating to that concept of half steps, you can play like a bunch of interesting things just like kind of off the rip. You don't even have to play it on your keyboard. You can click them in and really actually understand what you're doing. So that being said, let's talk about the first half step that I really like, and it's going from this 5 to the 6, and it's as simple as just building out the minor chord as such. We'll get rid of that. And so now we're back to the D sharp minor 1 chord. And so we duplicate that chord over, and this is the half step that I like to use on that 5, that top note. And it's so nice. And the reason this works is for a bunch of nerdy reasons that I don't want to really explain, but these 2 chords together have a nice tension building and resolution within themselves that's like really, really contained in just these chords, the 1 chord and the 6 chord. And it's all really, really cool because this is actually a major chord, and you can do a bunch of interesting things. Like a lot of really good producers will transpose this down so that you're using the 5 and the 6 as the bass note instead, and it just sounds really, really unique and dope. You could even only use the 6 as the bass note, and you could bring this down 1, and you could like duplicate this over like that. And then if I play that on C minor, really colorful movement. So the next one I want to talk about is this one right here. So we'll go back to C minor and we'll build it out like that. And so it's this one right here, the one that we've already talked about, this. And I believe that's called the suspended 2. Now, I took band in middle school, but I don't really know that much about music theory. I believe this is called the suspended 2. All you need to know is that you're moving that middle note down 1. I don't know. So that's what it sounds like, right? Now, this actually sounds really good if you suspend the 4. I think that's how you say it. I don't really know. I'm pretty sure one of y'all will correct me. Y'all always do. If you do something like this. So that sounds really good. So in context, the way that I like to do that, and the way I've noticed that a lot of producers do it, is they'll play the 1 and then go immediately to that 1 with all those other notes suspended. So suspend that 4 and suspend that 2 like that. So, and then if we add some bass notes, Pretty cool stuff. Now it's like, it gets fun because if you just understand those two things, right? If you understand how the 1 chord and the 6 chord relate to each other by moving that 5 to the 6 when you duplicate over that one, go back and watch it if it's not really making sense. But then if you understand how this is built, where you suspend that 3 and you suspend that 5, again, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, you can begin to put a bunch of different things together. So what you could do is maybe mute this note here and then remember what was that 6. Since this is the 5 for G sharp, let's move it up and do a 6 right there. So we have all these suspended notes, and this is even a half step right here. And then we have this one right here, which was a half step from the 5, and that can make something really, really colorful too. So if we play that with like the 1, and then we can add bass notes and do something really colorful. And that's just like, that right there is a vibe right there. So it's like, you have to like, and everyone's gonna have like a different bounce. I've noticed like Metro does it different than like Southside, and both of them do it way different than like Lex Luger or someone like that. And Pierre Bourne's got, you know what I'm saying? It goes on and on, but like when you begin to understand how they relate and how like certain ones go together and certain ones don't, you can really start to vibe out. It's actually crazy how quickly it happens once you just get in the DAW and just like kind of practice putting them together. The key is knowing where they are. So again, just knowing how to suspend those notes and knowing how that 5 can be moved up 1 half step to that 6. One more that I want to show you really quickly that just popped into my mind is this right here. So I'm gonna record it. 1, 7. So we'll drag that over. And so we're still in C minor natural. And so what I've done is I've just gone 1 half step down from that C to the B. And that's a really good half step to use if you know, again, how to relate these other ones. So what did we do? We just took those suspended notes and combined it with this half step, kind of like we did when we were up here just a second ago. And then if you remember, we added bass notes, and we can even just come click that in. So the bass note for this would be G sharp, I believe. That's so dope. I'm probably going to use that for the melody that we do in a second, but hopefully that made sense. If it doesn't make sense, please just ask me questions down below. YouTube has a really cool feature where I can literally respond to you with a short video, like a YouTube short. Like, please ask, because I will answer you. Like, all I do is make beats all day. Ask me questions about beats. I like talking about them. Okay, so step 2, or like tip number 2, concept number 2 is context. And this is like it's very intuitive once you understand what it is, but it took me a long time to realize how important this is in making beats. And it's like the sounds that you use have to make sense together. Like it's very odd to have like a guitar with like just this crazy lead synth for no reason. And it's like, it's not saying that those two things have never happened or that you can't do that, because there's no rules in anything really, especially not music. But like context, right? Like taste is such an important thing to have in music, and like knowing how to refine your taste so that all the things you do in your beats make sense contextually is very important. So how does this apply to our melodies? This applies to our melodies because, at least when I'm making them, what I've begun to notice from a lot of producers, and I think the guys in 808 Mafia, all of them do a really good job of this, is they put sounds together in a way that makes sense. So if Metro's going for something orchestral, it's going to be orchestral through and through. He might do synth flourishes to kind of drench it in a bunch more darkness and kind of that horror tone that he's going for, but the root of what he's doing is going to be acoustic. And then if Metro is doing synths, he's doing synths. You're not going to hear random acoustic instruments for no reason, and that's because he's very deliberate. And I think Metro Boomin is one of the best examples of any producer we have right now at just executing and being very deliberate. Southside, I could just start. Travis Scott's got really good taste. Doja Cat's another really good example. Pink Panthers. I could Riot for Ice Spice. You can keep naming people, but the thing that makes producers really good is their taste and their ability to take that taste to make every single thing they do. Even you'll start to notice it about producers in general. I'm kind of waffling at this point, but even like the way they dress, the way they talk, everything they do is to make the vibe contextual for what they're doing. Pharrell is like the pinnacle example. I'm telling you, study Pharrell. But that being said, let's get into demoing this as we begin to talk about this third concept. The context that I want to go for today is just something orchestral. I'm thinking about just organizing an orchestra and doing some kind of like dope symphonic, like dark horror melody maybe. So I think a really good VST to demonstrate this is actually BBC Symphony Orchestra, because so it has the preset selection that you can do. You can select presets like a normal VST, but I love this display for a couple of reasons. The first one is the way they've designed the sounds. It's already set up to be in a way like an orchestra, so you don't have to pan things away. All the sounds are made to fit contextually, and that's why I love this VST. It's actually 100% free, by the way, so check it out in the description below. It used to cost $50. That's why it's so good, so definitely check it out. The other reason it's really cool is because almost every sound has various articulations, and this is another thing that took me a long time to understand about sound selection, especially in acoustic melodies, is that like there are different articulations for various instruments. So if I could just show you what I mean for a second. If I play long on this violin, it's long, right? It's gonna play all the way. But if I go to staccato, that's a very stabby short note. So this is what it's gonna sound like even if I hold the notes, which I'm holding right now. You notice the difference? Tremolo is a little different. It's going to be kind of like a pull. I believe it's a pulling of the core of the bow back and forth. Or I forgot how they do it because I wasn't in orchestra, I was in band. But basically that basically makes it so that like almost every instrument has like multiple, and then there's various articulations for the brass and stuff like that too. So that was the trombones, I believe. It's so dope. It's so dope. So this is one of the coolest things. If you want to practice that concept of context with an actual VST that's dope and free, this is like a really good way to practice it. If you want to do it with acoustic melodies, of course, and just any like Poison would be a really good example of something if you wanted to do just like super dope synth stuff and you wanted to keep it locked in on kind of that dark synth vibe, like something like Poison would be really good for keeping everything contextually making sense. Enough waffling, let's get into making this melody. And since we're going to be making this melody, I do actually want to talk about that last tip now, and it's the concept of motif. And so knowing how chords go together and how notes fit together is one thing, and that's useful because you can't really make cool melodies unless you understand. You don't have to know music theory, but you kind of have to, like, it'd be weird to not know how the notes work, right? Like, that's weird. That's weird in my opinion, but it's interesting because I agree with this is going to be tangential. I agree with the idea that you don't actually need music theory because I technically don't know music theory, but I know what I'm talking about right now, right? So it's like you don't need to know music theory, but it would be odd to expect anyone to be competent in music without eventually knowing what's happening in music, right? So that being said, once you've got like a very loose understanding, which is basically all you need, you don't really need to get too deep and nerdy with it. The next thing you want to know is actually how to use those to build something useful, because you don't want to just play chords forever, although chords are pretty much all you need. It's the basis of everything. Another thing you can do is motif, which is where you design patterns into melody. I was trying to do something different from this. But since I'm not super dexterous with my keyboard yet, it was a little bit difficult to play an actually competent pattern, but that's the goal we want to go for. So a way that I kind of finesse it is I'll just play chords to start. So let's go to like a violin, or actually, yeah, this is really cool. So I'll build the actual motif that will be my main motif by starting with strings. So let's just go back to the violin. Okay, cool. So we've got like the actual chords we want to use. And so I think I want that one to just repeat, and then we'll just use this like altered 6 chord at the very end to like kind of add tension, and we'll do something like that. I haven't saved yet. That's crazy. That's hard. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open another instance of this VST, and I'm gonna go to the mallets. Let's do this, and I'm gonna build something based off this chord progression. So I'm gonna mute this, and I'll kind of show you how I build motifs. Maybe do something like that. That's hard, actually. Right there is hard. And so that is basically just an arpeggio, but I heard someone say in a video, I can't remember who it was, or maybe I just realized this intuitively. Like basically all melodies are just arpeggio because all melodies follow chords. And so the only way you can really follow a chord is by following the notes in the chord. And it would be really weird to not have it be in a pattern because then it wouldn't be catchy. Humans like catchy stuff for a lot of reasons that I don't need to explain because they're kind of scientific, but there's a reason we like catchy stuff. It's not just because it's catchy. It's actually kind of hypnotic to us. So we tend to do things like this when we want to make good music. And so that's actually why arpeggiation is a very powerful musical concept and why you'll probably see it in pretty much every producer video because professional musicians literally arpeggiate everything. Like the entire concept of making melody actually is intrinsically tied to arpeggio and this concept of motif. They're like that. But that being said, all we'll just do is take this pattern and match it to these notes right here. So let's see how we can do that. All right. So now let's bring those strings back in. It's hard. And I can hear how the violinist panned away from the mallets, and that's why I love this VST, bro, I swear. This is sounding crazy. So then now we're just thinking context. So again, this VST makes it so easy. BBC Symphony is such a dope VST, bro. Maybe I want to add some trumpets, playing staccato, and it's just gonna follow the motif. I could literally just copy and paste that. This is so dope. This is so dope. Okay, cool. So maybe I'll add, just keep being creative, honestly. Now, something that's helpful about like layering your melodies is like too much is definitely too much. So you want to be deliberate in that as well. So I'm really just looking for like, I want to be sensible in what I add next. So really, I want to add like maybe a tuba for bass, like brass bass. And then I think I'm gonna make that staccato as well. Yeah, and I'm gonna make it hit on every, like that. And then I'm gonna bring it down. And then I'm just gonna add like one more for piano, like just cause like having piano can be really cool and it fits the vibe. And it's like light. This piano's like not too heavy like a bunch of other like VSTs tend to be. So let's just play that in really quickly and maybe we can make it sound human. And just one last thing, I'm actually gonna layer this bell with something from Expand, which is like my go-to patch. They have like their own Celeste bell, and it is Expand has some of them, is actually another really good VST for like acoustic stuff. And it's affordable too. It's like usually 20 bucks or something. It's actually pretty expensive, but they do a lot of deals on it. So, right. And I'm just gonna take the motif we made, copy it, and paste it. Bring that up an octave. Cool. So then let's name all of those really quickly. Bells. Then we'll route these. And we'll just split that and arrange it really quickly. Bro, that shit crazy. Yeah, let's just add some drums real quick. I'm gonna just program some stuff on my MPK real quick. Bust down Richard Mill, yo. All right, let's just run that back real quick one time for the one time. We really made this from scratch. Let's do a little intro. Use that bass from the melody a little effectively. Do something like this. So yeah, half steps, context, and motif. I actually forgot what it was. It's not it's simple, but it's not easy, right? Because like no matter how much I just say it to you as if it's simple, like you will still have to put in a few 100,000 hours before it kind of starts to click. So if it's not clicking, that's why. That's the missing factor. So if you guys want a video on how to practice, I have pretty good practice methods from what my homies tell me. So maybe I could do that. You guys let me know. I'd love to help you with that too. But if I rush through anything that you wanted to see besides melody making, like drum programming or mixing, I will link the full guide playlist down below so you can check that out. It's really good stuff. All the comments are really good. They're good videos. They're really awesome. Check out this video appearing from the cook-up we did yesterday. I think you'll enjoy it. I hope to see you tomorrow on the channel again. I love you. Thank you so much for watching all my videos. I'll see you soon. Peace. Also, shout out to Kofi for editing all the videos. He didn't edit this one, but I love Kofi, man. He's the boss.